Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear students, Assalamu Alaikum. I am Yasir Hussain from Pakistan Studies Department, Army Public School and College, Ordnance Road. Today I will deliver lecture number 4, in which we will discuss about the era of government of Muhammad Khan Junejo and Afghan Jihad and its impacts on Pakistani society. The objectives of our today's topic are: explain the functioning of the Junejo government 1985 to 88, and then analyze the Afghan Jihad and the refugee problem and their impact on Pakistani society. Dear students, before starting our today's lecture, just recall the previous lecture in which we have reviewed the 11 years rule of General Zia-ul Haq. Basically, it was General Zia-ul Haq's era from 1977 to 88. Then we have discussed another very important topic during that era, was the major aspects of Islamization process. Now this today's topic we are going to discuss is about that of Muhammad Khan Junejo's era. That era also comes during this era of General Zia-ul Haq, because certain changes made in the Constitution of Pakistan by General Zia-ul Haq, and Muhammad Khan Junejo became the Prime Minister. So we will discuss here in this topic. Dear students, as a background of Muhammad Khan Junejo's era, the most important thing was that of the constitutional amendment by General Zia-ul Haq in the 1973 Constitution. Through this amendment, the parliamentary system was changed to the presidential system. Here you should know the difference between the parliamentary system and presidential system. These are the two most famous systems prevailed in the world in different countries. In some countries you can find the parliamentary system, while in others the presidential system prevails. The common and most famous examples of these systems are: parliamentary system example is that of the Britain, where the Prime Minister is the head of the government. There is a parliamentary system. Whereas as an example of the presidential system, United States of America, where the president is the chief executive and head of the government. Remember that the president may directly or indirectly elected, while in the parliamentary system it requires the members of the assembly to elect the leader of the house. For example, in Pakistan we have the parliamentary system. Here we have two houses of the parliament. There is the upper house, the Senate, and the lower house known as the National Assembly. Here the members of the National Assembly who were elected or who are being elected by the people of Pakistan, they elect their leader of the house in the parliament, and that leader of the house is known as the Prime Minister. He is the head of the government, he is the chief executive. That is the difference. So in 1973's Constitution, as we have already discussed in our first lecture about Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, at that time period he was the Prime Minister because the system was parliamentary. But then in 1977 martial law was imposed by General Zia-ul Haq, and now in 1985 through this amendment the parliamentary system is being changed or shifted towards the presidential system. Through this amendment the president became more powerful and the parliament's powers were curtailed. After doing this, General Zia-ul Haq conducted the non-party elections for the National Assembly in 1985. After the elections, after the results of the elections, after the formation of the National Assembly, General Ziaul Haq took the oath of the president. Now the powers of the president were more as compared to the prime minister. And Muhammad Khan Junejo became the prime minister of Pakistan. Dear students, the elections of 1985 were unique in the sense that they were non-party based. It means the representatives are the people who were being elected as a member of the National Assembly. They were not belong to any party like People's Party, Muslim League, etc. But they all were independents. There were 207 members elected, and these all were directly elected by the people, and these all were the independent members. Students, now we will discuss some of the important events of Muhammad Khan Junejo's era. The first one is that of the lifting of the martial law. After assuming the powers of Prime Minister, Muhammad Khan Junejo decided to lift the martial law. For this purpose, the Parliament and the provincial assemblies passed the bills in order to lift the martial law. After the passage of these bills from the Parliament and the provincial assemblies, the martial law was lifted finally on 30th December 1985. Students, the second important event of Muhammad Khan Junejo's era was his election as a president of the Muslim League. As we have discussed earlier, that the 1985 elections were based on non-party. So those non-party members are the independents of the National Assembly. They decided to form a group, and that group was named Pakistan Muslim League in 1986. Muhammad Khan Junejo was elected as president of Pakistan Muslim League, and likewise the chief ministers of the provinces became the provincial presidents of the party. So after this, the Muslim League was organized as a proper political party and started its enrollment to the lower levels as well throughout the country. Dear students, the next event of Muhammad Khan Junejo's era was that of his foreign tours and visits. Students, you should know that the international community, and especially that of the Western countries, do not appreciate the imposition of the martial laws. Therefore, the lifting of the martial law and restoration of democracy in Pakistan at that time period of 1985 was welcomed by the world community. After this, Prime Minister Muhammad Khan Junejo made a very successful tours and visits of Turkey, Germany, and then the United States of America. During all these visits, mutual agreements were signed, and definitely it gave a very positive message to the world community at that time. The next point is the development programs of Junejo's government. Dear students, Muhammad Khan Junejo started a number of different development programs of them the 7 Marla housing scheme, the 5-point development program, and different plans to raise the literacy rate were very important ones. All these developmental projects played a very important role in the progress of our country. Plus, the one important thing was that the people at that time, they appreciated the Prime Minister Junejo's honesty and national spirit. Dear students, one of the important events of Muhammad Khan Junejo's era was that of the Ogiti camp disaster. Ogiti camp was an arms depot at Rawalpindi where a sudden fire broke out in 1988. Due to this fire, explosion occurred. As a result of the rockets and other munitions expelled by the blast, many citizens were killed and injured as well. The fire was then brought under the control in a week's time. At that time, the Prime Minister Junejo was on a visit to Sindh, while the President Ziaul Haq was on a visit to Kuwait. They both returned immediately to Islamabad, and the Prime Minister immediately formed an investigation committee. The report of this committee was then presented to the General Ziaul Haq, the President. Dear students, some of the rockets are still found in the twin cities whenever the people are digging the ground. It was really a very dangerous disaster of its time. Dear students, the last event of Muhammad Khan Junejo's era was his government's dismissal. After the Ogiti camp disaster, there were made certain political changes, and due to this, the differences developed between the president and the prime minister. And after that, the president declared dismissal of Junejo government and dissolution of all the assemblies, that of the Central Assembly and the provincial assemblies, in a press conference. So with this, the 3 years rule of Muhammad Khan Junejo ended. Dear students, the next topic is Afghan Jihad, refugee problem and their impact on Pakistani society. Students, Russia invaded Afghanistan in 1979. This definitely created a new challenge for Pakistan, because it was thought that Russia's aim at that time was to get access to the warm waters. Therefore, Pakistan has to adopt a policy regarding this one. General Ziaul Haq adopted a very firm policy with great confidence and courage, and stood against this intervention of the Russian forces. He morally supported the Mujahideen of Afghanistan along with the USA. Soon after the invasion from the Russian forces, the Afghan nation started jihad against them. Pakistan supported Afghan Mujahideen morally along with the United States of America. The Mujahideen inflicted heavy defeats on the Russian forces, and Russia became helpless in 1986. But the jihad continued. The continuous defeats disappointed the Russians tremendously, and they decided to come to negotiations and agreements after this. Dear students, the most important event of Afghan Jihad was Geneva Accord. This agreement or accord was held between the four parties: United States of America, USSR, Russia, Pakistan and Afghanistan. US President Reagan, Russian President Mikhail Gorbachev, Pakistan Prime Minister Mohammad Khan Junejo, and Afghanistan President Mohammad Najibullah participated in these negotiations and signed the Geneva Accord on 14th of April 1988. According to this agreement, Russia accepted its defeat in Afghanistan and agreed to withdraw its forces, which was done in 1989. With the signing of the Geneva Accord, the invasion of Russia in Afghanistan came to an end, but the impacts of this war were far-reaching, especially for the Pakistani society, as a huge number of refugees migrated to Pakistan. According to estimates, more than 30 lakh Afghan refugees migrated to Pakistan during this invasion of Russian forces. Definitely, these put a lot of economic burden plus a number of other social and other effects on the Pakistani society. But Pakistan not only gave them shelter but also look after them very well according to the Islamic Brotherhood and humanity. With all this, Pakistan was appreciated internationally for successful Afghan policy, because Pakistan played a very vital role during this whole scenario of Afghan Jihad. Now just have a quick recap of today's topic. We have discussed about the functioning of Mohammad Khan Junejo's government from 1985 to 1988, very important events of his government. Then the Afghan Jihad and the refugee problem and their impact on the Pakistani society. Remember that this Afghan refugees problem still persists, and about 20 lakh Afghan refugees are still residing in Pakistan. Dear students, it's now time for the task. As usual, you have to read in the highlight pages 14 to 16, then learn by heart the definitions and the concepts, and then you will have to answer the following long question and write the answer in your notebooks. Question is from exercise question number 8, part A, and that is explain Jihad-e-Afghanistan. You can find its answer on page number 15 to 16. Then certain short extra questions from the text. These may come in the exams, and that's why these questions. It's question number 5, extra question. Write a short note on Ogiti camp disaster. This you will find its answer on page number 15. And then another question is question number 6, which is when was the Geneva Accord signed and by whom? Its answer you can also find on page number 15 as well. That's it for your assignment and the task which you will have to complete. Dear students, that's it for today's lecture. You will have to complete the tasks and assignments accordingly. If you have any query, you can ask me in the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.